This meeting is being recorded.
अच्छा जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम ख़वातीन और हज़रात। आज की सोशल गैदरिंग में आपको खुशामदीद कहते हैं। आज का उन्वान है रियल एस्टेट में 1031 ऑप्शन जो होता है वो असगर भाई करेंगे, पर उससे पहले तसद्दुक भाई और महमूद भाई कुछ अशार कहना चाहेंगे। तो तसद्दुक भाई पहले आप पढ़ लें।
अच्छा, हाँ, मेरे पास कुछ अशार हैं, इकबाल के हैं, और इकबाल ने इकबाल के ऊपर ही कुछ अशार लिखे हैं। वो इस तरह से हैं। इकबाल भी इकबाल से आगाह नहीं है, इकबाल भी इकबाल से आगाह नहीं है, कुछ इसमें तमस्खुर है, तमस्खुर नहीं वल्लाह नहीं, कुछ इसमें तमस्खुर नहीं वल्लाह नहीं। ढूंढता फिरता हूँ ए इकबाल अपने आप को, ढूंढता फिरता हूँ ए इकबाल अपने आप को, आप ही गोया मुसाफिर, आप ही मंजिल हूँ मैं। कहाँ से तूने ए इकबाल सीखी है दरवेशी, कहाँ से तूने ए इकबाल सीखी है दरवेशी, कि चर्चा बादशाहों में है तेरी बेनियाजी का, कि चर्चा बादशाहों में है तेरी बेनियाजी का। ज़ायराने काबा से इकबाल ये पूछे कोई, ज़ायराने काबा से इकबाल ये पूछे कोई, क्या हरम का तोहफा जमजम के सिवा कुछ ही नहीं, क्या हरम का तोहफा जमजम के सिवा कुछ भी नहीं। एक और इकबाल का शेर है। इकबाल बड़ा उपदेशक है, मन बातों में मोह लेता है, इकबाल बड़ा उपदेशक है, मन बातों में मोह लेता है, गुफ्तार का ये गाजी तो बना, किरदार का गाजी बन न सका। उसी इकबाल की मैं जुस्तजू करता रहा हूँ, उसी इकबाल की मैं जुस्तजू करता रहा बरसों, बड़ी मुद्दत के बाद आखिर वो शाही ज़ेर दाम आया, बड़ी मुद्दत के बाद आखिर वो शाही ज़ेर बाम आया। शुक्रिया।
बहुत खूब तसद्दुक भाई। तो शुक्रिया। तो महमूद भाई आप भी कुछ कहेंगे?
जी, मेरे पास एक नज़्म है, ये ज़ुबैर रिजवी साहब की है,
इरशाद।
इसका उन्वान है परिंदे लौट आए। तो इसमें कुछ फूड फॉर थॉट है, सोचने के लिए। कहते हैं कि पुरानी बात है लेकिन ये अनहोनी सी लगती है, हुआ एक बार यूं बस्ती के बागों में, किसी भी पेड़ की टहनी पे कोई फल नहीं आया, हरे पत्तों का मौसम लौट कर वापस नहीं आया। किसी भी पेड़ की टहनी पर कोई फल नहीं आया, हरे पत्तों का मौसम वापस लौट कर नहीं आया। परिंदे रो दिए, परिंदे रो दिए और दूर के बागों में हिजरत कर गए सारे। परिंदे रो दिए और दूर के बागों में हिजरत कर गए सारे। बहुत आज़रदा होकर बागबानों ने दुआएं की, मुनाजातें पढ़ी, अपने गुनाहों की खुदाए लम यज़ल से माफियां मांगी और क्यारियां काटी। हरे पत्तों का मौसम लौट कर वापस नहीं आया। हरे मत पत्तों का मौसम लौट कर वापस नहीं आया। परिंदे लौट आए थे। परिंदे लौट आए थे नई बस्ती के बागों से। नई बस्ती के बागों से हरे पत्तों की टहनी तोड़ लाए थे। परिंदे लौट आए थे नई बस्ती के बागों से हरे पत्तों की टहनी तोड़ लाए थे। शुक्रिया।
शुक्रिया महमूद साहब। तो एक जो शेर पढ़ा था सदुक भाई ने, इकबाल बड़ा उपदेशक है। इसमें नोट बताया गया है कि पहला मिसरा जो है वो हिंदी में है, बिल्कुल उपदेशक मन मोह लेना। और दूसरा जो है वो बिल्कुल उर्दू में है, वो किरदार और गुफ्तार और गाजी। सो ये एक नोट करने की बात।
क्या बात है।
वाकई वाकई उपदेशक का मतलब नसीहत करने वाला।
जी, उपदेशक। और फिर मन मोह लेना मतलब जी। तो वो उर्दू में भी कहा जा सकता था, पर उन्होंने हिंदी में कहा है, पहला मिसरा और दूसरा उर्दू में। तो अब शुरू करते हैं, आते हैं अपने उन्वान की तरफ। वैसे असगर भाई, ये नो स्मोकिंग मीटिंग है? नहीं, मैं मजाक कर रहा हूँ।
लगानी चाहिए नो स्मोकिंग।
मैं मजाक कर रहा हूँ। आप खुशी से पिए अपने घर में। तो सो लेट अस।
जूम का ये फायदा है, आप चाय भी पी सकते हैं और कॉफी भी पी सकते हैं।
एग्जैक्टली।
गोला पीने लगा।
पर गुजारिश है कि और कुछ ना पिए, चाय और कॉफी।
नहीं, मैं तो कोई और चीज पीता ही नहीं।
चलें, so let us come to the topic for today. The topic is defer or eliminate taxes in rental real estate. And the speaker is Mr. Asghar Abu Bakr. He has, I don't think he needs any introduction, but I will just say a few words. He has been a long-term investor in equities and real estate, so he knows what he's talking about. And he's written a book on personal financial planning earlier. But that was in the last century, Asghar bhai. That was in the 90s.
That is true. It was in the last century.
He has also worked in high-tech companies for 30 plus years, and currently he's on the PACC board and PACC chair. He's also a co-founder of PACC. And he earned his bachelor's from NED Karachi and master's from UCLA. So, so I will now just a few words on housekeeping. This session is being recorded and it will be available on the PACC website and also in the link in the newsletter. So if you want to refer to it later or forward it to somebody else. Also, if you have questions, please post them in the chat feature of Zoom. Generally, we recommend that you post them in chat, and Asghar Bhai will get to them either during the presentation or at the end, depending on his preference. Because if sometimes it disturbs the momentum flow of the presentation, and most of the time the questions are answered in the next slide or the next couple of slides. So that is the preferred way. But of course, if there's something urgent, like you can't hear or some other problems, then you can jump in. Also, I hope and snacks are available in your own kitchens. So you would know where to find them as you wish. Until we get back to face meetings, I think we'll have to do with our own snacks and chai. So with that, Asghar Bhai, please enlighten us.
Thank you very much, Asim. Thank you everybody for joining. So I'll share my presentation here, and I'll put in the slideshow mode from the beginning. So this is the topic, as Asim said, uh, and so just disclaimer and references. I am not a financial planner or tax advisor, although I've done my own taxes also, but that's not I don't know everything about taxes. There are some complication in some of the topics we'll talk about. And second, everybody's situation is different. And before you take any action on what you hear, please consult your own experts. I'll tell you which two experts you should be, two or three experts types you should be consulting. Now, this is limited based on my over 40 years experience in this area, and I'll go over how I started on this one. Especially 1031 exchange portion is a little bit complex, but I've tried to simplify with the example, like the flow, how that works. So as this is the agenda: real estate investment by numbers, tax implication during ownership, tax implication on sale, 1031 exchange, replacement property for 1031 exchange, and the last one is a step-up basis. So this is my journey. As Asim said, I did my master's from UCLA in '73 and moved to Bay Area here. I worked for Fairchild, and we were living in Mountain View in an apartment, and there was a adult Los Altos school adult education program, and in that one there was a real estate program. So I said in the evening it's a good time once a week or twice a week to join that. So I went there. There was an old, tall, husky gentleman, very kind of maybe over 60 for sure at that time, and he talked about, like, I think there were 10 sessions, so he talked about the whole real estate thing. I didn't know anything about that. I never had it in Pakistan as far as owning even a house. My parents had house, and so thus learned the basics of RE and real estate. And he used the term OPM. OPM, he said, is other people's money. So, and so then at that time in 74, 75, many of my friends were buying houses, their personal houses. And one of the reason was there was a $3,000 tax credit at that time. So it was a good time to buy. Government will give you $3,000 back once you close the house. And so that's what kind of Pakistani community within my friend circle were doing. But since I went to this course before, my first investment was not a house. I didn't buy a house. I bought a fourplex in San Jose on Hamilton Avenue, and we lived in there are fourplex generally have a bigger front owner's unit. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit, pretty nice for just two of us, and the other three apartments were rented. I managed it. I collected the rent. I maintained it to some extent. If I could not do it, I just got the plumber or whoever else can do it. And after that, I refinanced that. This house was very good in the sense that it was only 5% down. But since both of us were working, we had enough saving in 2 years to buy that. And so I refinanced it 2 years later, and then bought my own house with that thing. And after that, in from 76 to 83, 84, I bought one fourplex and 2 duplexes in Bay Area. Then we moved to Sacramento, and then I kept on doing that. During this last 40 years or so, I have sold few, I have exchanged few, and so I have kind of both sides. As I said, I used to do my own taxes, But as soon as I started exchanging, I have gone to the CPA because it gets complicated, and there are too many things which can go wrong. So these are the types of real estate, and the asterisk shows that I have some experience in that one. So single family, everybody know, multifamily apartment buildings, medical buildings, industrial warehouses. Retail means either strip mall or big malls. Distribution centers like Amazon distribution centers, self-storage, manufacturing home it's called, but it's generally you can identify as trailer park. And people don't use that because it's a kind of little bit a kind of downer, trailer park. But it's a very good investment. If we have time, I'll talk about that. Land, I've never bought land. Oh no, I bought land. I shouldn't say that. But I'll talk briefly about that. And then real estate investment trust REIT. I have not done any of that, although that may be a good way to get into real estate. So one of the thing which that again that instructor in Los Altos Community School told me that real estate remains protection against inflation over a long term. I mean, rents increase as the inflation increase. Like right now, the rents are going up so high and inflation is high also. So you generate increasing cash flow. And then, especially in Bay Area, there is a great potential for major appreciation. If you bought like 20 years ago, it could be like 10 times today's price. There is no house which is $300,000 anymore anywhere in Bay Area, most probably. This is my guideline for real estate investment. That hold minimum for 7 to 10 years, and I have a little bit more constraint on that. So even if, let's say, if you have a fourplex and three of the units are vacant, you're not collecting rent, you should have enough saving to hold it for 7 to 10 years, which is very harsh, has never happened before. But here I'll tell you the story about land. In 1988, me and one of my friends, we bought land in El Dorado Hills. And then right away, within 2 years, the market started going down. We held it for 7 years. We sold it. We didn't make much money, but we didn't lose money either. So this is kind of 7 to 10 years rule. I have done actually less than 7 years in some cases in Sacramento. Can somebody just mute their thing? I don't know what's happening. Please mute yourself. There is a lot of noise coming. So this is, if you go to general financial planner, especially people who are doing stocks, this is age-old allocation rule, 60% in equity, 40% in fixed income. Fixed income means generally bonds. And my thoughts are that real estate should be part of your diversification. And in my case, I have replaced it bonds. I have bonds in different places, but not the way people do it. I've never bought a bond itself. But there is nothing wrong with bonds, but like right now, when the interest rates are going up, the bond prices are going down. So it's like equities. It's as volatile as a stock market sometimes. This is my, again, thoughts that at earlier stage, like earlier as soon as you can, 10 to 20% of your net worth in real estate investment. And if you are getting older, 30 to 40%, you can go up to 50%. Because as I said, if you can hold it, most probably you will not lose money. You may not gain a lot in a particular investment, particular house, particular whatever investment you have. Can somebody please mute there? There are a lot of noise coming in there. Either sit down.
I think the Sadhguru Bhai, can you please mute? There's noise coming probably from you. In general, I forgot to mention in the housekeeping, please keep it muted unless you have to speak, ask a question, or unless you're invited to do so. Otherwise, all this background noise keeps disturbing. For example, I think just now an airplane was flying overhead. That was the noise we heard. So please keep yourself muted until you have to ask a question or in the Q&A session afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Asim. So let's start by numbers and what are some matrices. One example which few people understand, but it's a very, very fundamental in real estate, is called cash on cash yield. So cash on cash yield, the example is if you bought an 600,000 property, no loan, and then after all expenses, insurance, whatever, property tax, you have 20K of net profit. So if you divide 20,000 by 600,000, that is 3.3% cash on cash. And even if you're loan, that's the one fundamental thing you must look at, because that drives whether it will be, your loan even will be advisable or not. So loan as leverage, if your loan interest rate is less than this cash on cash, it's a good leverage. And plus tax benefit, whatever, we'll talk about that, because interest is deductible. So if interest rate is equal or above, no or negative leverage, but some tax return, tax benefit again. So you have to, again, you have to measure everything with this cash on cash yield. So now, once you have it, out of 600K, say 50,000 is land value. Building is depreciable. People, although building doesn't depreciate, but this is accounting thing. Every business has like building, building and the other equipment and all the other things, they're depreciated. So building is depreciable, land is not, which is kind of quirk. I don't know why land is not depreciated, because land doesn't go anywhere. Building can burn down. So for residential, every type of real estate, there is a kind of depreciation period, different depreciation period. So for residential real estate, it is 27.5 years. Exactly, you can't change that. So depreciation of 550K building is 20K per year, 20,000 per year. If you buy after January, you have to prorate for the first year. But if you bought in January, it's okay. After that, if you next year, it will be a full year, so you will depreciate 20,000. So 20,000 profit you have here, then you got depreciation deduction of 20,000. So net taxable income is 0. That's the first deferment of taxes. I say deferment because I'll come back to that. 20K on 20,000 each year due to depreciation. Now, the catch is that depreciation lowers the tax basis of your property over your investment. This is 600,000. So 20,000 per year on 600 basis is 200,000 depreciation, right? 10 times 20. So basis after 10 years 400K, which is 600 minus 200 is 400K. And this is very important. This is the basis which will, if you keep that building, that will stay with it, or even if you exchange it, it will stay with it. I'll go over that. So that's the general easy way. And this is that like 10 Schedule E, where you see here all different type of properties. Then it's all the expenses, and then this is the depreciation, line 18, and you depreciate. If you use TurboTax type of thing, which is very good for kind of simpler returns, this will be calculated automatically. As soon as you say residential real estate, it will calculate it right away. So that's the easiest way to do it. But if you know how to do it, you can do it yourself. Now, why do you want to sell? There are many reasons. So cash on cash, if cash on cash become very low, let's say 2%, because of the low rent and high prices, which is Bay Area. Bay Area, there is no way you can get on $2 million house. This is right now, there is even the condominiums are not even less than $1 million. So let's say $1 million house, and it's 2,000 a month rent, which is, I think, high. Cash on cash is very low. So you want to sell it. It's not very efficient use of your capital. The other thing which is more lately has happened to me last 5 to 10 years is tired of managing. If you are managing it yourself, then it's always a problem, either tenant collecting rent, maintenance, all the, they say, I don't remember what they say, TTT, toilets and trash. So, but if I had property manager, but then you got tired of property manager because you have to manage property manager. Most of the property manager may be good, but many of them just overcharge. They don't care. It's not their money. It's your money. And they'll, whatever can be done, $100, they will ask $200 or give it to somebody. When I used to do that, I asked my property manager, give me at least 3 beds in there. But that also they can do whatever they want to. So third one is kind of you have to keep accounting unless you have tax accountant or somebody else. And after a while, that gets also kind of tiring. So you want to sell it. So let's see what the numbers look like when you sell it. So that 600,000 house now is $1 million. So you sell it for $1 million. So capital gain is here 1 million minus 600K, that's 400,000. Now taxes on capital gain, federal is at 20%, California 10%. It actually can be higher. Minimum is 9.3. Maximum I think is 13.3. But anyway, it's like about 30%. So 120,000 in capital gain tax. Now the catch comes in. It says IRS giveth and IRS taketh. So depreciation recapture. Remember that we had 200,000 of depreciation in 10 years. That one is taxed at 34.3%. 25% is fixed for federal. No matter what bracket you are in, 25%. And California, again, I took 9.3%, which is the lower number. It can be higher. So that's 200,000 depreciation, 10-year depreciation. So you pay 68,600 on depreciation recapture when you sell it. So what are the total taxes? 188.6 thousand. So now your actual gain, net gain, this was 400,000 cash you got, but you paid 188,000 in taxes, so it's 211,000. It's less than about little above 50% of your actual gain. So that's where the deferment comes in. How do you defer that? If you, let me just, yeah, if you need money, just sell it. I mean, you pay taxes, that's it. I mean, the taxes is way of life here. I mean, everybody pays taxes. Almost everybody pays taxes. Some pay higher, some pay lower. So the one way to do it is what is called 1031 exchange. This is an Internal Revenue Code. It provides tax deferral for like kind of property exchanges. It was first passed in 1921, and then it was changed many times after that, but 1954 they made major changes in there. This one is mainly used by companies, big companies, for their real estate and their equipment and other assets, machinery and all of the things. They can exchange it for newer one, and they don't pay taxes if there is a gain on that. It's possible that there is a gain in that. In 2021, If you know what BBB is, that's Build Back Better plan of Biden administration. People thought that this will pass. And in that one, 1031 exchange was limited to $1 million per person. So there was so much activity in there, and some of the yields on the replacement property started going lower, but it became very popular and still is popular. But I'll go through that. This didn't pass, as you know. Like Kamala Harris was asked, who is the real president, Biden or Manchin? So Senator Manchin and Sinema kind of destroyed that whole plan. Some of it was good. I think this is my personal opinion. They just put so much stuff in there. It started at $5.5 trillion, went to $3.5 trillion, then $2 trillion. It was still a lot of things in there. They could have, now they will have to separate out things in there, and maybe these two senators will agree on this thing. So, as I said, if cash is needed, just pay the tax, done with it. You don't have to do anything with it. There is a way to defer tax further by 1031 exchange. Now this is a little bit complicated, and you have to understand there are rules also, very kind of fun. You have to do that, otherwise your tax exchange, this 1031 exchange falls through. So you have to first identify qualified intermediary, QI. When you're selling them, and when all the contingencies are removed on your sale of your property, at that time you identify a qualified intermediary, and there are many available. There are firms in there. There was at one time there was some scams going on, so you have to work with a reputable firm, and generally firm assigns you a person, so you are one-on-one with a person. So the way it happens, when you sell the property, actually qualified intermediaries buy the property you are selling, and right away it sells it to your real buyer, but it keeps the sales proceed in kind of escrow. It's not really an escrow, but it's escrow. It won't give you money at that time. Now you identify the replacement property within 45 days. That's one of the rules. Second rule is that you have to close the replacement property within 180 days. So when you identify the property and you are ready to buy that property, qualified intermediary buys replacement property from the proceeds he was keeping, and then right away sells it to you. It's a one transaction. You don't do any two transactions. It goes through the same escrow. You just have to fill a lot of forms from QI at both this at first sale and then buying the property. But it's not that difficult. It's all generally now people are using DocuSign, and there is no leeway in there. So, but you say the question they ask, and you say yes, 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 like you are signing up for Facebook, that you agree to terms and conditions. You don't read it, but you have to agree if you want to use that. Qualified intermediaries generally charge 1K per transaction. Means if you sell one and you buy one, it's 1K. If you buy two, which I'll come to that, then it will be a little bit higher. It may be 2K at that time. Now, because of this, there is no taxes on this transaction. But the basis, which was after depreciation, which was 400, what was that? Let's see. So 400K, 10 years, stays the same, 400K, right? So your basis doesn't change. IRS doesn't lose any money, but you deferred the taxes. So these are the exchange rules. 45-day and 120-day rules are a must. If you don't meet it, no exchange can be done. Actually, as soon as you sell the first property, qualified intermediary will send you a notice, say you have this exact date to identify the property. And when you identify the property, you have to tell them what address is, what address of the property is, and if you are buying a partial interest in that property, you have to say what percentage of interest you are buying. You can take partial cash out of exchange when it's completed, but then it becomes taxable. So you're generally not a good idea. If you want money, you should have just taken it out to selling the first time around. If there was a loan on relinquished property, you have to replace it with same or more amount of loan, or if you can't get any property with the same or more amount of loan, then you have to put cash to make that loan equal to the cash equal to the loan or more. So if 200K loan relinquished per year, you should have at least 200K loan or put in at least 200K cash. Now you can add more cash. You'll buy bigger percentage of the property or bigger property, and that will add to your basis. Whatever you put more cash, then it will go into as your under your basis. Now this is the good part about that. Any rental real estate, you remember first page I showed you type of real estate. You can buy any of that thing, any exchange into any one of those type of property. So you sold a house and you can buy a percentage of an apartment building. You sold a house and you can buy a retail strip mall, exchange it in that. Now since this is generally kind of, I actually did one tax return myself, but then I didn't want to do it. So you have to get some taxpayer or CPA or other professional who is well versed in this 1031 exchange. All tax preparer, all financial planner are not. Sometimes they don't even know the word 1031 exchange. So you have to ask them that they understand 1031 exchange, because there are many things that can go wrong, and he can put the wrong stuff in there and it will catch up sometime later. So replacement properties, you can do two ways. You can find on your own, again, any rental real estate, bigger single family residence, apartment building in better cash on cash area. So you buy into like Louisiana, Tennessee, Texas, Florida. And one thing which I have not done it, but one of my friend did it, which is called triple net properties. Triple net properties are one which says they pay property, the tenant pays property tax, maintenance, insurance. These are the 3 N's, in addition to utilities and rent, which generally they do anyway. This is generally by high credit companies like Walgreens. What they do many times, these big companies, they buy the property themselves, which is their to liking. They fit it up with their own whatever their needs are. Like a drugstore will have a different furniture and different fitting in there than a grocery store. But they don't want to keep it on their books. So they want to sell it and they'll pay the rent. For them, that's better way to do it. Now, this is less management hassle, not free of management hassle, because still you have to collect the rent, you have to manage the thing. So if you want to do that, that's very good. Actually, my friend bought a medical building in Sacramento, which is generally medical buildings are close to the hospital. So, and medical buildings are the few doctors have the offices in there, and they can go to the hospital quickly if they have to, especially cardiologists. When they are in the office, they see the patient, but if there is some emergency comes up, somebody has to go through heart surgery, they have to right away go to the hospital. So they are close, like even sometimes walking distance. So then you can get larger property as tenants in common. If you know, you can generally, when you buy the property personally, is under your trust or with your wife. Tenants in common is generally a partnership. So two unrelated people can become tenants in common. There are companies, largest company, who buy large property with or without loan, and they sell portions to TIs as tenants in common in the exchange. So there may be like I have one which they started with like no loan, and I went in there and there were like 5 like me which owned the half of the property, and the other half was a little bit over half. Still, this real estate company owned it. And what they did, which was, this is interesting, but I don't think this is much of a benefit. Since there was no loan, they didn't have to qualify for the loan. They can close fast enough, and you don't have to qualify for the loan again. They qualify for the loan. And then about 2-3 years later, they finance it. So when they refinance it, they give you your portion of the refinancing proceeds to you. So if they refinance at 40%, you get 40% of your original investment back. Now this is tax-free. Refinancing is always tax-free. There is no tax on refinancing. So, but it is limited to what is called accredited investors, and the definition is a person or a husband and wife, 200K income for last 2 years, which in this what do you call, in this area, Bay Area, that's very easy, or 1 million net worth excluding your primary residence. So you have to have some property, stocks, bonds, whatever you have. So your net worth should be at least $1 million. Now these are generally, they ask for high minimum. They don't want to take you 100 and 200,000. They'll ask for minimums million or more. Now the disadvantage sometimes is that since they are buying the property, you don't have insane there, they may violate this 45-day rule or 180-day rule. So it may jeopardize your 1031 deadline, and then you are in trouble if they do that. Again, no management hassle, but no say either. I mean, they are large, they are more than 50% owners, so they make all the decision. They give you plus minus 5% income from 4 to 6 to 7% annual income, and whenever they sell it, that you share in the appreciation. Now you can lose money also. There was a property which I was very hesitant. There was a mall in Tennessee where J.C. Penney was where they call anchor tenant. J.C. Penney was in trouble. And I say, my God, why are they buying this? But their cash on cash was 14%. So the way they forecasted it, that even J.C. Penney goes away, still will make money on rent. And then when something happens, now they're thinking about changing it to medical building or hospital, the whole mall. So, but they did it, and they showed me all the numbers, and I say, okay, fine. And I actually went there. I looked at the property. I stayed overnight over there. I talked to the property manager. I stayed in that area I stayed in that mall for like an hour or so. Then I just drove around to the location. I say, what type of houses and what other things are close by? So there was a Walmart close by. There was some other major retail store close by. So I went in there. Now this is generally longer term. The company I am doing it, they keep the properties for 20 years plus. So you're at my age, my heirs, my children will own that property if I. So this is the 2 ways to do the exchange. The third way, which is what is called Delaware Statutory Trust. This is just like any trust. You have living trust, the trustee, there are beneficiaries. And it's not limited to Delaware. It started in Delaware long time ago. Before 2005, they were not allowed to do 1031 exchange. And this one is also similar to the large thing we talked in the previous slide. Trustee, or they call sponsor, they buy a large property with or without loan again. Generally, they keep the loan 45%, loan to value ratio 45 to 60%. So very, very safe from that point of view. Generally, we buy it at 80% loan or something like that. Because they don't want to default on loan. So, and actually bank or lender asks them to start every year, they keep reserve. So they accumulate reserves, so if something bad happens to the property, lender will get their money back. The other thing is that again, the DST, they cannot refinance. So 10 year, if they have loan, 10 year is the one, they have to do that. Now they sponsor again sells like that other one, tenants in common we talk about, beneficiary for cash or 1031 exchange. So you can go in there today if you have $100,000, you can just buy into DST, and you have your owner of portion of that property. That's so minimum is 50 to 100K. They have lots of investors generally. And again, you don't have any say in that. Trustee makes all the decision, but you don't have any responsibility either. Again, beneficiary or you must be accredited investor. If if you don't, and they'll ask you like for your CPA or some of your, like if you don't have CPA, they'll ask you for your brokerage account statement that yes, you have 1 million net worth, or you ask you for your salaries and tax return for that. Because this 10-year loan period, and they know they cannot refinance, they start looking to sell property around 7, 8, 9 years, because it might not be the right time at 7 years. So they'll wait. And again, unless no loan, they can keep it as long as they want it. And very few properties are without loan in this case. There are some, but very few. How do you find DST sponsors? There are brokers in every area who work with sponsor. Every week they get list of different property and different sponsor in almost all type of real estate, like multifamily, self-storage, warehouses, this trailer park. By the way, at here I would like to tell you something about trailer park. Everybody thinks that trailer park is kind of, because it has a negative connotation, they may be the best investment. And the reason is trailer park, the owner just owns the land and some improvements. The trailer itself is owned by the tenant, and they are generally retired people. It's very difficult to move a trailer. It takes $10,000+ to move a trailer. So they are not going anywhere. Generally, their occupancy rate is 97% or higher, and they keep on giving you this rent all the time. So that's a good investment, but the negative is, since most of it is land which is not depreciable, you will not get the appreciation write-off. Like I said, I talked to the sponsor before I did couple of them. As I said before, I visited the property and location. You should do that first couple of times. And you should work with, again, reputable broker who have done this before, who have experience in real estate and experience in DST also. Similarly, sponsor, you work with a successful track record. So generally I ask them, so how long you're in business? Nobody was in business of DST 1031, so it's 2005. And by that time, since more than 10 years have passed, they must have sold some property. What was the record of those property which you sold? You ask them, and they have to give you those. If they don't give you that, then you don't invest with them. But they always have that available. There is a thick document which is called PPM. This is all condition, clause and condition is like a thick document. Again, you don't read all of it, you read some of it and then sign it. Now, sponsors pays brokers about 6% commission. This does not come out of your investment. So if you put 100,000, your basis in that one will be 100,000. But since sponsor is not paying out of their pocket, so it affects your overall financials of the property. But that's kind of part of doing business. When you buy and sell, you have to pay the commission for buying and selling. Again, as I said, you should use a DST expert tax preparer because it can get very complex, especially if you do second transaction DST. So I did that just recently. I had to do that, and I couldn't have done it myself, although I think I am quite familiar with the tax returns. Now, pros and cons. Exchange can happen within days of sale because there are already properties. These brokers have property. You say, hey, I want to invest in this 500,000 or whatever my proceeds were from the sale, and within few days, I've done as fast as 5 days, and they will send you all the documents. Everything is DocuSign. You sign it. Your QI gets also involved in this, and it gets done within few days. One thing which is good about this one is because Bay Area is very high value property. So let's say you sell $2 million property and you have 1.5 million gain on that, right? It's possible. People who bought 300,000, there is no house in 300,000. Nothing is below 2 million. So it's $1.5 million. You don't want to put all 1.5 million in one property. So you can spread that in 2 to 3 medium value property or medium percentages in there. So that's now you're diversifying. You can pick different property types. You can pick different sponsor. Whatever you want to do, that you can do that. And I've done that when there is a big proceeds from the selling of the property. I always do it in 2. I haven't done 3, but the other portion is you don't have to arrange or qualify for a loan. It's already there. Because as I said, if there was a loan in your relinquished property, you have to put the cash or the same amount of loan in there, cash in there for the loan. Now this is generally income 3.5 to 6% annual rate. Some of these sponsors pay monthly, some pay quarterly, and it's almost automatic. You give them your bank account number and they do ACH at their already they say we'll do it on 15th of every month or 15th of every quarter of the 3rd month of the quarter, and it just shows up in your. Now you have to keep track of this just for your information. At end of and then you share appreciation of the property when sold. Again, you can lose it. So end of each year, like right now, I'm receiving information which is your CPA can use for Schedule E filing. But since it's your value, basis is your value, they cannot tell you what your base is in, how to do tax return. They'll tell you what that property did as far as rent, income and expenses. So you still have to do your own tax return in there. They provide enough information that you can do it, but again, I would recommend hiring somebody to do it. Again, no management hassle. It just comes in there, end of the year, you get tax information, your CPA files it, and you're done. You can lose money, for sure. You have no say in management. If you are kind of like me controlling type, you may not like it, but I've lost that battle now. So, and since they can sell it in less than 10 years, that could be a problem. But you can do another exchange. You can do another DST exchange out of this DST, and the same process applies. So you can defer it forever, almost ever, unless you sell it. But so that's the like a deferment for a long time. That's the best way to defer for a long time, unless again, as I said, you want cash. Now this is the current law. Step up basis. Maybe you heard of that. At death, all of your portfolio basis is reset to the value on the date of death. So let's say example, you bought stock at $10 10 years ago. Now the price is 50. If you sell it before death, $40 will be taxed as capital gain. If kept until after death, the basis will be 50 to whoever inherits. If they sold it right away, zero taxes, no taxes to be paid. Depreciation recapture is also set to zero. So they don't have to worry about that. Whatever the value of that property is, the date of the death, that becomes your value. Whoever inherits that. This basically eliminates all income taxes. And that's what my instructor was saying. You say, you buy property, you refinance, you buy more property, you exchange it until your death, and you pay no taxes. So, but this was like potential law changes. As I said, remember, Build Back Better plan at 10, the original version as exchange was 1 million, 1031 exchange $1 million per person. And there was some limitation on a step-up basis. But if you look at the politicians in our Congress, they own real estate. They own a lot of other, like Nancy Pelosi's, her husband owns a lot of real estate in California. They will not let this thing fast. Was in trouble in Senate, as I said, because it's still difficult to pass in original form. So that's why people did 1030 exchange in 2021, because they thought that it will go, the 1031 will go away. So if you are thinking about it, do it sooner. I don't think this thing will pass, but you don't know. My broker says, hey, do it. If you are going to sell it now. Don't wait. Why take even if it's a 10% chance, why take that chance? So that, I think, ends my presentation. You should Google DST and 1031 exchange. There's a lot of information about that. I've summarized all of that. And if there is anything you find, let me know. Thank you again. And please send me, let me just go to my chat. Okay, chat, I think Javed asked, is the 1031, oh, see, he already got the answer. Okay, so, no, it's simple. Who can see your messages recording on? Everyone. Was that a question? Now you can unmute yourself and ask me any general question if you want to.
Yes, I have a question. I bought the house for about 300,000 with my wife. When she died, the house was around 1 million.
Yes.
And today is around 1.5 million.
Yes.
So if I sell it, what will be my capital gain?
No, now let me ask you, what did you do? What did you do at death of your wife? Did you appraised it to 1 million? Some independent person appraised it to 1 million?
No, what I did was I kept on receiving some flyers, and I kept on looking at some sales in those days, and from the sales of those days, I figured out the price was 1 million, and I didn't do more than that.
Did you file what is called tax return after death of your spouse? Did you say that this is $1 million property at that time in the tax return?
No, I didn't. There was no mention of the
That
price of the
that one becomes
property.
complicated, and I am not qualified to answer that question. You have to ask a state attorney.
Does anyone else know from in the audience?
Best thing is you consult a lawyer with real estate knowledge.
Okay.
It's not just real estate knowledge. It's you have. I know you have some stocks also. That also needs to be valued at the time of the death, if the stocks were in both of your name. So you have.
Yes, we had stocks. We had stocks, and I have not sold them. And if I want to give $1 to Sabah, for example, or South Bay, I gave the stock that I was holding with ownership with my wife. So I don't have to take
I understand.
accounting of it.
That is not related to death anyway. So that's very good thing to do. But you should. I would highly recommend you go to a tax lawyer and ask him about this thing, because this is, as I said,
Okay.
above my pay grade.
Uh,
So Javed bhai has asked question.
I have a question.
Just a minute. There is a question on chat. Yeah, gifting of shares to kids. Yes, you can do it, but their basis will be same as your basis on the day of the. It's not the day. Like if you bought stocks $10 5 years ago, you give it to your children, it still is $10. If they sell it, they will pay the capital gain taxes.
Oh, okay. So basically, let's say if I bought a share, but you just said $10 10 years ago, now is let's say $100, so they have to pay tax on $90.
At that, when they sell it.
Yeah, then they sell it, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Whenever they sell it.
Yeah. Now there is a gift limits, or if you go above, like I think last year was 16,000 per donor per donee. So if you went above that, then you have to file a state tax return.
Yeah, but you don't pay the tax on that. You just
No, it's just you doing that because your lifetime deduction per person is, I think, 11 million or something,
something
now.
like that, right? Yeah.
So it just gets deducted from that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So basically, we have to tell the kids that what my basis was, so that they can calculate the tax based on when they sold it.
Stocks are easy because there is a history. You can just find the history on the day it was given.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I can get 50 years of history on IBM. So that's easy. I mean, you don't have to get appraisal for that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Good. Thank you. Yeah.
Mahmood Saab asked, can you depreciate your personal house? No.
No.
Only business. Rental real estate only. You cannot depreciate your house. Sorry.
Oh, one thing that I did in 2021 is this. I gave 15,000 each to 3 different grandchildren. And at that time, I heard that if I give $15,000, I don't have to report to IRS, or they don't have to report to IRS.
That is correct.
So that is what I did.
That is correct.
If I give 15,000 each to 100 different people, I can do so.
Absolutely.
Without telling IRS.
Yeah, and they don't have to be your relatives.
Like मैं बाजवा साहब को भी दे दूं 15,000 और तशकर साहब को भी 15,000 दे दें।
भाई मुझे दे दें।
असद भाई हम 9 लोग हैं, 15,000 भेज दीजिए 9 लोगों को।
हाँ बिल्कुल।
नहीं नहीं भाई, उन्होंने कहा है मुझे देने, उन्होंने।
अच्छा सिर्फ आपको देने हैं। ओह अच्छा चलो ठीक है, फिर आप मुझे 15, अब आप मुझे 7 दे दीजिएगा आधे।
चलिए, जनरली ये है कि पर डोनर पर डोनी है, तो हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ एंड 2 चिल्ड्रन, राइट? You know how many you can give? $120,000 to all of them together.
Right.
Not you. Now you are single, so you can do 60,000 for 4 people, and no tax. Actually now is 16,000 per year, so it's a little bit higher. You don't have to file any tax return.
असगर साहब,
Yes.
जी
आपने आपका प्रेजेंटेशन बहुत अच्छा था।
हाँ,
आपने कभी रियल एस्टेट बिजनेस भी की है या नहीं,
क्या मतलब as brokers?
एज ए ब्रोकर और एजेंट?
No.
अच्छा, तो कभी कभी आपके ऊपर कोई लॉ सूट वगैरह नहीं हुआ होगा?
नहीं।
अच्छा अच्छा।
आपने किया है?
मैं तो 27-28 साल से ब्रोकर हूँ,
अच्छा अच्छा।
रियल एस्टेट ब्रोकर।
हाँ, वो तो हर एक, आई मीन, जो भी ऐसी फील्ड में होते हैं, डॉक्टर्स, लॉयर्स, वो तो उनको तो सू होते रहते हैं।
नहीं तो हमारे तो लॉ सूट होते रहे ना, तो इसलिए मैंने कहा कि शायद आपका कोई एक्सपीरियंस भी हो।
नहीं, इस पे
शेयर
नहीं
करते
सुने। इस पे भी वैसे जो टेनेंट होते हैं ना, कभी कभी सू कर देते हैं।
नहीं, टर्नर नहीं जी, हमारे तो वो बायर और सेलर वगैरह के इतने लॉ सूट हुए कि हमें ब्रोक कर दिया उन्होंने।
That's possible. That's why you should have liability insurance.
नहीं, इंश्योरेंस के बावजूद
अच्छा।
लॉस हुए, क्योंकि इंश्योरेंस कवर नहीं करती है बाज लॉ सूट्स को, तो
सही है।
उन्होंने कहा कि ये गए अब खत्म। और
सही है।
उन लोगों ने बेईमानियां कर करके हम लोगों को परेशान किया, लोग बायर्स और सेलर्स ने।
बिल्कुल।
ये 2007 में बहुत बुरा हाल हुआ है हम लोगों का।
हाँ, ये हो सकता है, बिल्कुल हो सकता है।
ये हो क्या सकता, हो गया। तो अल्लाह के, अब तो अल्लाह का शुक्र है सब खत्म हो गया, लेकिन जो बहुत खराब टाइम गुजर गया हमारा।
अस्कर भाई
जी।
सॉरी, एक सवाल है कि ये जो घर हमारे अब जनरली ट्रस्ट में होते हैं ना,
हाँ
रिवोकेबल ट्रस्ट में,
जी जी।
you sell and you buy in these ये DST या multiple real estate, तो फिर क्या होता है उसका?
नहीं, उसको आप नहीं कर सकते, एक्सचेंज नहीं कर सकते। It's your personal house. It has to be rental real estate.
अच्छा, but the real rental भी तो ट्रस्ट में नहीं हो सकती कि हो?
हाँ, रेंटल ट्रस्ट में वो कर सकते हैं, बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं।
अच्छा,
अपना हाउस नहीं कर सकते।
नहीं अपना हाउस नहीं, पर अगर वो रेंटल प्रॉपर्टी,
हाँ, मैंने किया है, वो मैंने किया है।
तो बट इफ यू बाय इन मल्टीपल प्रॉपर्टीज जैसे आप कह रहे थे, उसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर दें, डाइवर्सिफाई कर दें, then each can then still go in the trust.
यस, उसकी जो टाइटल होगा ट्रस्ट का ही टाइटल होगा।
अच्छा ठीक
विल बी टाइटल एज ट्रस्ट। अगर आपकी एलएलसी है तो आपके एलएलसी के टाइटल होगा। फिर मेरी एलएलसी भी है और मेरा ट्रस्ट भी है, तो मैंने कुछ एलएलसी में कुछ ट्रस्ट में, दोनों सेपरेट ट्रैक चल रहा है।
चलें ठीक, थैंक यू।
आपके एलएलसी के मालिक कौन है असगर भाई?
एलएलसी के मालिक तो एक तो नहीं है, मैं और मेरी वाइफ हैं पहले तो, और फिर हमारे बच्चे हैं। लेकिन एलएलसी आई फाउंड आउट इज नॉट अ वेरी गुड थिंग, especially at the death. It becomes quite complicated. So again, this is I just said that, but I don't know more about that. My CPA told me that this could create problem, that LLC I have, if we both of us die.
So don't die.
Don't die. Yes. Actually आपने पढ़ा?
अच्छा, ये एलएलसी का डिवोर्स में क्या होता है, कुछ होता है?
वो डिवोर्स का जो एग्रीमेंट होगा वो होगा, इधर आप एलएलसी डिसॉल्व कर देंगे या एक पैसे दे देगा दूसरे को।
अच्छा।
हाँ।
चलो, any other
तो
questions?
ये मैंने सुना था कि, हाँ कहें, आप कहें।
नहीं, मैं पूछ रहा था, और कोई सवाल है तो पूछ लें आप।
मैंने कहीं सुना था कि लोग है ना एलएलसी करते हैं ताकि कोई लाइबिलिटी आए, जैसे डॉक्टर का ऑफिस है या
Exactly.
तो वो उसमें उसकी पर्सनल प्रॉपर्टी बच जाती है,
That is
ऐसा
correct.
सुना था।
That is correct. लेकिन उसमें ये होता है कि if you were involved in any way in managing LLC, they will sue you and LLC both. हाँ, चलिए।
जी, मैंने भी एक सवाल भेजा है आपको, क्वेश्चन
Oh,
लिखा है
okay.
मैंने, देखिएगा। विच इज बेटर, ऊपर
इससे आगे ऊपर क्या है?
चैट पर देखें।
और refinance, अच्छा आपने which is better to pay off the loan on your principal house, cash out and refinance even if you don't need money. uh, if you don't need money for your personal thing, then I wouldn't do it. If you need money for investment, like the stock or real estate, you should do it. That's how I did it also.
Okay.
I refinanced my personal house twice. So again, वो उसके चक्कर यही है कि interest rate क्या है और फिर whether it's worth it or not, right?
The interest rate is very low, 3% mortgage.
That's pretty good right now.
हाँ, शायद अभी बढ़ गया होगा।
हाँ, थोड़ा सा बढ़ गया है, लेकिन he is right, he 3.5% पे है आजकल। और अगर आप 15 ईयर का लें तो वो उससे भी कम होता है। 15 ईयर लोन लें तो उससे भी कम होता है फिर। चलिए, एनीथिंग एल्स?
I think if there's कोई है और सवाल?
असगर भाई, मैं एक कमेंट करना चाह रहा था। ये जो रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट है ना, वो भी एक अल्टरनेटिव है। जैसे आप ये जो इन्वेस्टर है ना, जो प्रॉपर्टीज खरीदते हैं और रेंट आउट करते हैं, तो उसके बजाय अगर कोई रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट खरीदता है तो वो 5,000 का भी खरीद सकता है, 6,000 का भी खरीद सकता है, मतलब और जब बेचना पड़े तो 1,000 का भी बेच सकता है, 2,000 का भी बेच सकता है, समथिंग लाइक दिस। फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी उसमें बहुत ज्यादा होती है।
इट्स लाइक स्टॉक, तो वो तो आप रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट ट्रस्ट मैंने लिखा था ना पहले ही पेज पे।
जी
हाँ, मैंने कभी नहीं किया।
तो हाँ, तो जो लोग सर दर्द वगैरह मोल लेना नहीं चाहते उनके लिए एक ये ऑप्शन अच्छा है।
हाँ, सही है।
चलें, अगर और कोई सवाल नहीं है तो
अच्छी थी मीटिंग, अच्छी थी।
शुक्रिया जी, थैंक यू
जी। थैंक यू अस्कर भाई फॉर द वेरी एजुकेशनल प्रेजेंटेशन। इसी तरह और भी टॉपिक्स करते रहें, और इफ एनीबडी हैज आइडियाज फॉर अदर topics for the social gathering, please let us know. We used to have, I think, the book reports. If somebody has read a book, they would come and discuss it and give their impressions on it. So that can also be done at a future social gathering. Any other ideas, please let us know, so we can help to keep this going and improve it. And hopefully in the next couple of months, we should be able to get back to
असगर साहब, एक बार आपको कहूँ कि आपका presentation, that was one of the best presentation I have seen in the last few years.
Thank you, thank you.
That was a very good.
बाजवा साहब
जी,
आपसे एक सवाल है। ये जो रूबी मस्जिद है ना, उसमें हर सैटरडे को कोई प्रोग्राम होता है जिसमें वो स्पीकर को बुलाते हैं। आप के पास कोई ऐसा टॉपिक है जिस पे आप स्पीच दे सके? मतलब जो नमाजी होते हैं ना, ज्यादातर सीनियर होते हैं, और फजर की नमाज के बाद वो जो बेसमेंट है उसमें जाके लेक्चर सुनते हैं।
चले वो
जैसे आज डॉक्टर का था एक।
जी, वो मैं फिर आपसे बात कर लेता हूँ किस किस्म का।
हाँ, अलग
मतलब फिर फजर पे उठना पड़ेगा ना। पर
हाँ फजर के लिए
Uh,
नहीं वो
पहले
आप
तसदुक
सिर्फ
साहब को
लेक्चर
जल्दी
के लिए
थी
भी आ
कि
सकते
कब खत्म होगा अब खत्म होना नहीं देते।
नहीं नहीं, जो भी सवाल है पूछे, पर ये टॉपिक फिर हम बात कर सकते हैं
ठीक
बाद।
आप एक
हाँ
बाहर
बाद
था
में
है
हाँ
जी, आप मुझे फोन कर दें या ईमेल आपसे बात कर लें।
हाँ हाँ इंशाल्लाह
और
इंशाल्लाह
वैसे भी मैंने आपको अपना एड्रेस देना है ताकि आप मुझे वो गिफ्ट चेक भेज सकें, तो वो बाद में।
अच्छा वो 15,000 वाला नहीं
जी।
अब की बार शायद 18,000 दे सकते हैं
16,000
16,000। तो एनीवे
16,000 दे सकते
थैंक यू सो मच असगर भाई।
हैं अच्छा
जैसे लोगों ने भी कहा, वेरी नाइस प्रेजेंटेशन, covered going into real estate and then coming out and the reasons, and also very comprehensive. So thank you again, and inshallah see you all next social gathering. We will keep you updated in the newsletter.
Hafiz ji.
Thank you.
thank
Khuda
you.
Hafiz.
Thank you for the